So, good afternoon and welcome to the global press conference for Jordan Peele's exciting new movie, Nope. And we're very lucky to have with us today Steven Yeun, who plays Ricky Jupe Park. Steven, we have questions from all over the world for you. Everybody is very, very excited about this film.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, I'm going to start it off precisely because everybody's so excited to see this movie. I'm sure there were many reasons you wanted to do it. Could you share some of them with us?
I think for me, the first and foremost reason was working with Jordan. I've been a big fan of his for some time, director and as a human. Um, and when he offered me this role, I wasn't hesitant, but I wanted to see what he wanted to do specifically with this role. And in talking with him and excavating the character, and him opening up the collaboration to build out the character more specifically tailored to me, I knew that he was someone that I could trust and such a great director to kind of just follow. So for me, it was really Jordan.
I can imagine. We have a question here from Jana and Nagasi. She says, Stephen, when you first read the script, what caught your attention?
I think what caught my attention when I first read the script was just the the layers in which he was speaking. I think he was speaking on first glance in this kind of I don't want to say easy, but a little gentler to access adventure story, just a fun story. And then when you start going in deeper, looking at the characters, what they're saying, little details he has in the script, then he's trying to get several layers deeper with it. And then when you have the conversation with Jordan, you realize that he's trying to touch something that not many people think to even touch like that. So yeah, again, it really all just comes back to Jordan for me.
Raul Godinez says, you've said that the moment you entered the Nope set, you immediately thought it was Jordan's nightmare. How would your nightmare look like on the screen?
Oh, I think what I meant, I don't know if me misheard. I said it might have been Jupe's nightmare, uh, Ricky's
Okay.
nightmare. Um, I think for me, like the thing that I've always heard about Jordan's films is just his attention to detail, and this was just exactly that. Going into his office, into Jupiter's Claim, you saw that there was an entire history and a universe of a life lived, built out. Um, Kid Sheriff, the film, does not exist in real life, yet memorabilia of that film exists. And it's not just crappy knockoff versions, it's like real deep cut memorabilia. Um, the posters and the photos he would have up on the walls, the writings on the pages, all these little things the production design team did such an incredible job of, and just Jordan's mind really cooked it all up. So when I was in there, I remember like looking through all the artifacts, and I was just like, oh, this is so trippy. You can't tell where the dream begins and then where the nightmare ends, and it's just a weird place.
Steve Newell from Flicks New Zealand says, can you tell us about your character's complex, and he says, understandably, relationship with pop culture fame and nostalgia?
Yeah, I think Jupe is Jupe is I think all of us in some way, maybe slightly infantilized, perhaps the sum of everyone else's expectations and projections upon him. Um, I think he he's kind of touching, the gaze, the way in which we see each other, the way in which we're kind of domesticated and trained to respond to the way we're seen. Sometimes that gives us comfort. Sometimes that, it's a constant, I guess, rejection of us to a degree. And then what happens when you're a child and you're subject to being a Hollywood star? And then more specifically with Jupe, what's it like when you're actually not the main character, but you're one of the side characters? What does that what does that all do? So there's many layers to him that I think we all try to touch. But in that way, I think he represents all of us to live in that type of isolation where maybe there's a true version of himself somewhere, but it's hidden under many layers of other people's expectations.
Peter Gray from the AU Review in Australia said, Stephen, did you mold your character's evangelical mentality on anyone specifically?
That's funny that you say that. There was a couple ideas that we threw around. I don't know if I'd like to name specific names, but yes, there were like evangelical pastors that we looked at that we thought about. Thought about Willy Wonka sometimes. Um, there was just this cultish way about him as well that I really wanted to tap into. So, yeah, we did not look at all your favorite TV evangelists.
By the way, for an actor, it must be great to have a character with so much meat, right? That is so complex, that is so rich.
It it is, and I think the scary part of it at some point is that as you get deeper and deeper, the separation between yourself and the character becomes less and less because then you're hitting something so base and so fundamental that you're like, is this me? Um, so it gets trippy that way, but you're right. Like it is really nice when a character can be so full that way.
Raul Godinez says this movie talks about us, the audience,
Mm.
as someone or something that doesn't want to be seen. Are we really addicted to spectacle, but uninterested or becoming it ourselves?
Um, I mean, I don't know if I have any of the answers to those things, but we certainly are, and always have been into spectacle. Um, in some ways, it's what connects us all, except for the spectacle itself, I guess. That we can all stare at something and be in awe of it, or talk about it, or dissect it, or judge it together. I think ultimately what it's getting at is just what we're always getting at is we just want to connect, but we don't know how. And sometimes in our desire to connect, someone or all of us ends up being more isolated than where we started. So it's a weird relationship we have with it all.
Kind of following up on that, Shannon McGrew asks, when you look back at your character and his trauma, you were mentioning that before, and
Mm.
where he is now, what do you think Ricky was hoping to accomplish by having contact?
Maybe Jupe was. Sometimes I think it's easier to be confirmed that all your fears and traumas are true and that the world is out to get you than it is for you to see that the world is not how you thought it was. Um, I think there's many layers to how that idea travels through Jupe and the ways in which he decides what he decides, the choices that he makes in his life. Um, he witnessed some crazy things. He was a part of some crazy things. So is it easier to be confirmed that you're not insane and the world that you created is true? Or is it easier to reveal to yourself that maybe the world you live in is a nightmare of your own creation? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
But it's a good question.
Yeah.
Lupe from Cine Movie says, Stephen, you're no stranger to shooting in the extreme outdoors, for instance, The Walking Dead.
Mm.
Was Nope equally challenging shooting in the outdoors?
They were so considerate. They had these cooling vests that had all this like really ice cold water flowing through to cool us down because it was in Santa Clarita and I was under like that huge tuxedo. But also, I don't think I ended up using it. there was just something really nice about being in it, you know? You got to think too, like Jupe is submitting himself to something larger than him that maybe he hopes takes him with him, or takes him with it, um, uh, in a multitude of ways, not necessarily literally, but maybe through fame or spectacle or all that. I think he's the last thing Jupe is thinking about in that moment is how hot it is, and so um, I didn't end up really considering that much either. Also, I hydrated. I drink a lot of water.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
The truth is that that said, Jupiter's claim is quite something, right? I mean, that
Mm,
was what. How
yes.
was it to be there in that kind of theme park town? Such a special set, right?
Yeah. I mean, truly, the attention to detail. There was not a wasted concept. You know, Jordan led me through the point of the town. He was telling me the jupe jangle, how you get it, how you earn more, where you put it, what you do with it, the prizes you can win, the ecosystem that Jupe has created for himself, his office, Gordy's room, all these little different compartments that you could also look at maybe from a larger view of being his soul or his brain, you know, like little hidden artifacts of deep dark recesses. And then also like the front of it, which wants to be welcoming, which wants to connect with people, which wants fans to come through. Um, yeah, it's weird what we do. In general, it's just weird what we all do. I think that's Jupiter's claim. Uh, yeah.
I'll see Rengi fast. You work with major directors like Bong Joon-ho. How did working with Jordan Peele compare or differ next to other directors that you've worked with before?
You know, for me, when I'm working with a director, the thing that I look for the most is a leader, someone who I can come to hash something out, to answer some questions, to just hold that confidence that they know, not even that they know what they're doing, but that they're aiming for something. And I think what makes a great leader um, is the ability to have control, but also hold it lightly, to leave space for things to surprise you, for a film, especially, to kind of create itself in the process as well with guidance. Um, you know, most of the directors I've ever worked with are like that. Uh, I remember director Lee Chang-dong, who's one of my favorite directors of all time. Um, he told me he we were halfway through shooting this movie called Burning that I did, and he was like, "Steven, a movie makes itself," and I was like, "What?" And then a week later, we shot this scene that we had shot prior that he wanted to shoot again, and this time, a flock of geese reflected off the glass, and he was like, "That's the one," and I was like, "Okay, guess movie makes itself." He just knew how to be patient and wait for the things that he needed for this film to reveal itself to him, and I think Jordan is that way too. He has a deep awareness and ability to kind of be in control of this chaos, but he really does leave a lot of space open for it to reveal itself and make itself. And that to me is like a really, really good director.
We have a last question here from Scott All in Cinema Germany. Your character is a showman, knowing people want to see the spectacle. Was there a showman you have witnessed who inspired you for the character?
Um, I think this goes back to that first question. I looked at, actually, well, Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka was a really special um, a character to kind of examine the awareness that he holds while he's also putting on a show is a really fascinating thing to behold. Um, and we looked at a lot of TV televangelists. They have this charisma, but also they know what they're doing. So there's, yeah, playing within that world was really fascinating.
And it was fascinating to watch you do it on the
Oh,
screen.
thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much, Stephen. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being with us today, and congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.